Okay, welcome everybody to CXO-Cockpit Digital Performance Reporting. Today's 30-minute webinar, does Excel still rule your year-end close? Let's have a look at the speakers for today. My voice that you can hear is me, the first person, Alfonso Colonino. I'm the country manager responsible for UK, Ireland and Nordics. I'm going to be the host of the webinar for the next 30 minutes. I've also got two other speakers on my presentation today. The second person, Jean-Pierre Quaidblade, Sales Director for Europe, is going to be taking the second slot within today's webinar. And finally, for our presentation of the demo will be Alexandra Verlan, who's one of our senior consultants. So we're going to cover 4 simple points. The session introduction will be done by myself, and we're going to discuss a little bit about Excel pros and cons of using Excel within a reporting environment. And then we'll jump into a demo of CXO-Cockpit. I would encourage you on your chat box, hopefully on your screen, you will be able to enter any questions as you see fit, and right at the end, within the last 5 minutes of the presentation, we'll actually take a lot of those questions and we'll get those answered for you. So let's just start with the session introduction and move to a quick intro to why you've joined the session today and who we are. So CXO-Cockpit, we provide financial performance reporting on top of some of the leading EPM systems. You can see in the bottom right some of the kind of solutions, desktop, iPad, Android, and iPad devices that you can display CXO-Cockpit for your financial reporting. Headquartered in the Netherlands, multiple sales offices worldwide, in the USA, in the Nordics, and in the UK. We have approximately 80 customers currently using our solution, which we'll share with you in 1 second. Here are some examples of some of the leading organizations who are using CXO-Cockpit today. So you're not alone in thinking that there may be a better way of doing financial reporting instead of Excel. A lot of these organizations listed here have leading EPM systems in the world of Oracle or SAP, etc. And they're still using CXO-Cockpit on top of those solutions to put finance back in control. So what I'd like to do now is hand you over to Jean-Pierre, who's going to take you through the Excel challenges as we see it. Jean-Pierre, are you there? Can I hand over to you?
Yes, you can. Thank you, Alfonso, for the introduction. Yes, my name is Jean-Pierre Quaidvlieg, responsible for sales in the European mainland area, and been with CXO since the start. And since actually that start, we see that Excel and the use of Excel within the finance community is actually our biggest competitor, let's put it that way. And all of our customers have a sort of a background, like Alfonso already quickly highlighted, in EPM systems, and they're using either the SAP stack, BPC, or BW, Oracle with the Hyperion toolset, IBM with a TM1 Cognos Controller, Microsoft SSIS cubes, or Tagetic. And what we see happening is that in Excel, within these large organizations that we have discussions with, financial processes are supported, like the rolling forecast, like budgeting, but also a lot of Excel is used in the month-end and year-end reporting. And from a timing perspective, we thought that this would be a good webinar to have this discussion right now, because most of you will have a book year that ends on the 31st of December and are right in the middle of your year-end reporting. So we see that although companies spend a lot of money on implementing these state-of-the-art EPM systems, still at the end of the ride, a lot of the information moves to Excel. And that typically happens at the end of the reporting period, either on a monthly or on a quarterly or a yearly end basis. And then a lot of Excel is used in that process. So multiple Excel sheets float around in that process, multiple people working on them, multiple people looking at data in Excel coming from these EPM systems. And this is something very common. We see that with most of the companies that we have discussions with. And if you want to change that, if you want to move from the use of Excel to a more robust reporting process, we are able to help you. First, let's discuss, what are the pros and the cons of Excel. And of course, we see a lot of positive effects from using Excel in our user community as well, because people think it's very flexible, and it is. It's extremely easy to use. We all know it. It's easy to create calculations, and it's easy to manipulate the data. And it's also, it seems to be the logical choice for finance, because this is just from using these EPM systems that we've discussed before, is the logical choice to take the data from there into Excel, because there is no alternative. But on the other side, all the customers that we talk to, all the prospects that we talk to, they also see a lot of negative issues around the heavy use of Excel in the reporting period, every month, every quarter, every year. And we've highlighted some of these weaknesses or negative aspects of the use of Excel, and I'm quite sure that the audience will recognize quite a few, or maybe all of them, that we have listed here, and especially the error-prone ones, the formulas that can be quite complex, broken links, the latest version of the truth, the manual repetitive work that comes along with the use of Excel is what comes to mind first. And secondly, it's rather static and not interactive, so there's no drills in there, etc., etc. So I think that most of the finance people on the call here would recognize these negative issues. On the positive side, we forgot basically one item, which is formatting, because Excel formats beautifully. It formats a lot better than most of the BI tools that are out there. So we'll get to that item later on as well. So just a quick example before we dive into CXO, we can actually set a benchmark for the discussion in the demo. So this would be, a typical group level Excel that's being used on a monthly or a year-end or a quarterly basis. So you see a nicely formatted list on the left side, basically your P&L starting with net sales, ending up with net profit, and then per region you see the actuals nicely set to each other with a total and the budget and the variance between the actual and the budget. And of course, most of the companies that we talk to have these sorts of reports in place. Sometimes they're much more complex than this example. Sometimes there's much more data involved in and there are many more variances on the same theme in Excel. But it means that if you have this top sheet for group level, that there is also, a level deeper. That means that within this top sheet you have numerous tabs or worksheets that basically have the same sort of data, but then for a region or a country. And you can imagine that this can go on. For instance, if we look at China, China could have itself, again, 4 or 5 different regions. And then, the Excel sheet goes on and on and on. So from one single reporting example, you could have easily 20 to 25 different versions from the same report based on a different entity. Which also means that if you publish this in a reporting book, it means that you need to print this 25 times as well, or as many times as you need. So this is, all manual, very intensive. And the other final thing that I want to explain prior to the demo, and this is something that the audience will definitely recognize, what happens if in this top sheet something changes? What if an additional KPI is added, or what if an additional calculation is being created in that sheet because your CFO would like to see that in the next month report? So we have highlighted now what happens in that case. So we look at total depreciation and the amortization expense, and in the new sheet you'll see that this is added up in a simple calculation. So we've done it really simple. But it means that in the top sheet things have changed. And as you know, this would also have an effect on all the other sheets below. So you need to change the USA sheet, the Europe sheet, the South African sheet, the Asia sheet. Everything needs to be changed, and potentially the sheets below that level of entities as well. So there's just one simple example that already makes sure that the finance department every month has heaps of work just to work with these changes, and the next month new changes come along and you need to check and double check whether these formulas are still correct. And yeah, this is very recognizable, I'm quite sure, for the audience. And this is basically setting the stage, this simple example on how could you solve this in CXO in an automated way. Having said that, I'm going to hand over to my colleague Alexandra, who will now go to the live piece of our demonstration and opening up CXO-Cockpit and sharing basically the same example with you, but then within CXO-Cockpit.
So what you see in front of you is CXO. What I've created here is a report in CXO that shows exactly what you just saw in Excel. So we have the point of view. The point of view is a powerful tool in CXO which allows you to change your year, your period, but as well your entity. So in this example, what I want to show you is if I change now my common communications to Europe, you see the report will change and will show you the descendants of Europe. You see the actuals for Italy, the UK, the total of Europe, the budget, as well as the variance. One of the things that Excel is missing is the drill functionality. So in CXO, I have the option to show the details of total compensation. It follows the source system, the metadata of the source system. But I can also drill into a different dimension. So in this example, I'm drilling to the products of net sales. So we have the drill, we have the functionality that we can change the entity, but I've also included that I can also change what I'm looking at versus budget or versus last year. This is a report created in what we call a multi-column report. But in CXO, we work with templates. And one of the other templates that we have is a financial statement template. I've used the same list that you've just seen, so the same accounts, and I've only put this now in a financial statement template. Immediately you see the same drill functionality. But now, if I select my net sales, I can also see the breakdown by entity. Not only the breakdown by entity, but also the trend. The trend over the year of the net sales. Now I want to go back to my first report. And in my first report, I want to show you in the designer how easily I can add the calculation that Jean-Pierre just showed you in Excel. This is my list. It's called my AVE profit and loss list. And I want to add a calculation. I'm going to add a line and I will add the calculation that I have predefined for this. So this is my total depreciation and amortization. as you will see, it's now added at the bottom of the report, but I'd like to show it above EBIT. I'll drag and drop, and it's above EBIT. I can even look at the calculation itself, and I can see it's a summation of depreciation plus amortization. Now let's go back to the web. And we see total depreciation and amortization. If we look at the financial statement report, is now also included the total depreciation and amortization account. We've created it as a cube calculation, which becomes a new account in CXO, which can be used throughout the whole of CXO. So let's look at, for example, Asia. And here we as well see the total depreciation and amortization. So in Excel you would normally have to add that to all of the separate worksheets, all the separate tabs. But here in CXO, because I've added it to one list, it is added to all of the reports. And also I can see the details of the totals as well. I'd like to share another one of our templates. This template is our waterfall template. And in the waterfall template, again, I'm using the same list, which you can see here. The same list with, again, the total depreciation and amortization. And in the bridge, I can see the movement between my budget, from budget to actual, split over the entities. And again, based on my point of view. One of the main features also from CXO is to work with commentaries. So at the bottom, you will find of all of the CXO reports the option to include comments. So in this example, you see the point of view comments. The point of view comments of the 4 regions that are part of common communications. The subsidiary comments show me the comments of the entities itself. And I have an option to copy that to the point of view comments. I can change them, and I can add new comments if I want to. Let me show you one more thing in the designer, because one thing that Jean-Pierre has mentioned is how easy it is to format in Excel. So how easy is it then to format in CXO? So let's go to my new line. This is the line. I'm going to change the format. So let's now change this format in some bold, default, bold. So now the line is shown in bold. So this is how easy it is in CXO to change the format of the accounts. I'm going back to the web. What we see in Excel is that most of the companies have all of the reports and they'd like to send out all of these reports. That means they need to run in Excel all of the different reports for all of the different entities. In CXO, we work with storyboards. Storyboards are books. Yeah. The storyboards contain multiple reports, which allows you to tell your presentation. So it allows you to show the different reports. You can then, of course, add multiple reports to your storyboard. And this gives you a quick overview of some of the reports that we have in CXO. So hopefully this gives you a good idea of what we can do in CXO with the same Excel sheet that you've just seen.
Alfonso, maybe you can check for questions, seeing that we have about eight minutes left. So.
Okay, thank you very much, Jean-Pierre. Thank you very much, Alexandra. Please stay on the call with me. Just quickly check the chat box. There seems to be quite a few questions that have come in whilst you guys have been speaking, so let me just take the first one. Okay, so this one's coming. Okay, so where does the data come from that's in CXO-Cockpit? Can you connect to, for example, Oracle Hyperion Planning System or any other system, for instance, that might contain HR data?
Okay, Alfonso, let me quickly answer that question. Yes, one of the unique features about CXO-Cockpit is that we have very solid connectors to these leading EPM systems that we shared with the audience in the introduction PowerPoint. So that's the start of the journey from data from the EPM system into CXO. Those connectors are specifically developed per underlying system, and we can also connect multiple sources into one environment. So you can indeed combine, for instance, SAP BPC data with Hyperion Planning data or S-based data with HFM data. And we also have a way of, for instance, the question was about HR data. There's a way of incorporating HR data in CXO dashboards as well through a very handy data warehouse loader, but we will go into too much detail to explain that right now. But we do have these capabilities, and we have standard connectors to these leading systems.
Okay, thank you very much, Jean-Pierre, for answering that one. I think, if I may, let me ask Alexandra this next question. The question comes from the audience. I'm in finance currently and have to ask our IT team to change any reports that are built in our current reporting system. I'd like to know if your system needs IT to build the report, or can I do it myself, or can the finance team do it?
Thank you,
Alexandra.
Yes. As you've just seen, we are working in the web, and also the administrative part of CXO is in the web. It is easy as a finance person to create your own reports. As you as finance know the source system best, gives you the best person to create, change and build reports in CXO. Okay,
super. Thank you very much for answering that. Another one, I think, again for Alexandra. Just a little bit of a long one. Okay, we tend to make changes almost every month to our thresholds, which impacts on calculations in our Excel sheet. How easy is it to amend or change these calculations in CXO-Cockpit? Again, to you, Alex. I think in a way you've already answered that through your demonstration, but maybe if you could expand upon it.
Well, the good thing is within CXO, we have the option to put in a variance threshold, either on report level or on line level. So if the full report has a threshold of -5 and 0, you can put the threshold in the report itself. If you'd like to have a different threshold on the account itself, you can also change that in the report.
Okay, super. Thank you very much.
Alfonso, I see.
Again, Alex.
Alfonso, hold
Yeah.
on. I'll see a sort of an add-on question from Daryl based on the connectors that we have. There is just an automated way on updating them. This can be, by the way, done in 3 ways: by the push of the button, it can be done in batch, or it can be done automatically in a live situation. So the data integration is not a manual process. It's something you set up once and is there, is then done automatically. Another interesting question we got from Guido is, hello, is that mapping table hold in CXO or in the source system, Alexander?
I believe you are talking about the cube calculation that I've just created. The cube calculation that I've just created is created in CXO. So as part of CXO, we're not touching your source system. We create this cube calculation in CXO, which can then be reused in different reports.
Okay. Alfonso, any other questions you see on your list?
Yeah. So there's another one here. Just a very quick one. Alex, again, how long did it take for you to build these reports that that originally Jean-Pierre showed in the presentation and that you've replicated in CXO?
Well, as I had the list in Excel, it was easy for me to build a report in CXO. It took me an hour to make sure that everything looked exactly the same for the first report that I showed you, the profit and loss by entity. And as in CXO we reuse lists, so the list of accounts, I could reuse the list in the other 2 reports, and which therefore cost me 5 minutes per report to build them.
Okay, so rapid deployment. That's really good. Okay, I think the final question, maybe Jean-Pierre, you take this one. Do you have an iPad app? As our C-level team tend to use them constantly to manage the KPI performance of the business?
Yeah, that's a very good question. One of the drawbacks we saw in the introductory PowerPoint, but that wasn't highlighted, is that seeing that Excel is used a lot in the finance office for financial reporting, year-end reporting, month-end reporting, and Excel doesn't really translate really well to an iPad or an Android device or any mobile device. It is true that everything that you see in CXO-Cockpit is automatically available on a mobile device. So to go a little bit technical, the front end is developed in HTML5. So everything you see in the front end automatically sizes to iPads, iPhones, Android phones, mobile phones, whatever. So if you produce a dashboard in CXO-Cockpit, it's automatically pushed to an iPad if you technically allow people to see it from an iPad. So it's there automatically on an iPad.
Okay, well, that seems to be the final question that we've got through that I can see in the list here, guys. So I'm just going to put on the final screen, which is just contact details should anybody wish to have any further questions that they wish to ask any of the team here in the webinar today that they didn't want to ask publicly, then you may of course call us or send an email through to the team that's been on the webinar. So thank you very much for viewing our webinar today. We're going to end the webinar now, and thank you.